The Bertram Farm was the iconic red hip roof dairy barn nestled in a valley in southern Wisconsin. Valerie and Dave were high school sweethearts. By the time they were 21 years old, their first son was swinging from a bouncy seat hanging from the barn beam, while Dave milked cows and Valerie fed calves. Well, I graduated from vet school in 1992 and emigrated north across the Cheddar Curtain. By that time, the Bertram farm had grown to 75 cows, 3 kids, and an Australian blue heeler named Bear. 8 years in school, I always wondered what was all of a sudden going to qualify me to practice on real live animals. Well, thank God for the Bertrams. At the first sight of my pickup truck, they'd come pouring out of the milk house, the granary, and the machine shed from day one. They made me feel like their fourth son. Well, a year or so into practice, I was called to the Bertram farm in the middle of the day during the school year. I flung open the door and planted my boots in the gravel, and there was Bear, giving me a hard stare and a 3-foot buffer zone, his left foot forward. Well, if I gave him a square body angle, I could step towards him, he'd step back. If I stepped back, he'd step towards me. At one point in time, I just diverted my eyes towards my pickup truck. He was on me like a piranha in a school of shrimp until Dave called him off. Well, a couple months later, I was called to the farm. They had a cow who was having a hard time calving. So with a couple of grunts and a fetal fluid shower, I was able to resolve a uterine torsion and deliver a live heifer calf. Well, I was moving with purpose and stowing my gear. Dave cleared his throat. Dave was not Catholic, but he had been married for 14 years, so he started every phrase with an apology. Man, I'm sorry, Doc, I forgot to mention, but Bear's got a little scuff on his side. Well, the little scuff was a 6-inch by 6-inch laceration in the shape of an inverted 7, and there was a flap of skin hanging like a sailboat. Well, this was an occasion where self-preservation met best medicine. Well, I could have drugged him and put him on the tailgate of my pickup truck and sewed him up with cow suture. But I said, you know, guys, what would be best for Bear is if I were to take him back to the clinic where I could clip it and scrub it sterile and I could close that thing over a drain. It would heal up very nicely. All the while, I'm thinking, while I've got him under, I could neuter this varmint, I might have a chance against this little apex predator in future visits. Heck, I wouldn't even have to ask. I could remove his testicles through a little buttonhole incision. They might not even notice. And if they did, I could just play dumb. Oh, guys, I don't know where they went. But I took an oath of honesty. So I said, guys, while he's under, do you want me to go ahead and neuter him? Valerie spoke up, oh God, could you? The UPS man won't even get out of his pickup truck and the route driver leaves things at the end of the driveway. So above all, we had to be safe. I had developed a mutual combatant respect for this little guy. So I calculated a drug dose that my anesthesia professor, William Tranquility, yes, really, said would get me a solid 25 minutes of sedation. And in no time, he was sleeping peacefully in the floorboard of my pickup truck. So I headed for the clinic. Wisconsin was in all her splendor as we rolled past houses, farms, and fields, listening to George Strait on the radio. The alfalfa was Ireland green, the chicory lined the pea gravel, the phlox waved in the breeze, and the daylilies yawned to life. Well, as I made the south side of town, I paused for a stop sign and a premonition. I rolled up my window. Half across the intersection as I shifted from granny low down to second gear, like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, that Bear launched out of the floorboard of my pickup truck with a laser focus headed for my right carotid artery. Instinctively, I stuck out my hand and pinned him between the windshield and the dashboard of my pickup truck. In doing so, grazed the controls for my stereo. Now, Dr. Tranquilli had also told me that rompenketamine anesthesia would result in increased GI motility, decreased sphincter tone. On cue, as my little blue pickup truck wove down Main Street in second gear, Bear let loose with a stream of urine like a McDonald's drink straw into my right ear and spewed pipe stream diarrhea all over the passenger side of my truck. Knowing that my hand would eventually fatigue, I contemplated my options. I could bail out, but somehow standing outside of my pickup truck soaked in urine in front of the Lake Mills Golf Club while a 38-pound Cujo lunged at my windshield did not seem like the image that would grow our practice. Well, Steve's Car and Truck Service had kept me on the road for years. You could pull up to their door, honk your horn, and they would open the garage door. When you pulled in, they'd close it behind you. Well, I did and they did, but at the sight of the scene, they scattered like lightning at a Little League game. Once I had contained, I flung open the doors and bailed out. Bear settled down. I was able to get a leash around his neck, and I walked him the 6 blocks to the clinic. The surgery went beautifully. The laceration closed up nicely. And as he recovered from anesthesia, I spoon-fed him canned food. A couple months later, as a visit to the farm, he sat peacefully between Valerie and Dave, gave me a little wag and soft eyes. As I walked past, I patted him on the head, and he ripped the heel out of my right boot.